Welcome to the Bruins Benders Podcast, Season 4, Episode 5. May the 4th be with you, with Maddie and Smitty, brought to you on the Inside the Rink Podcast Network. InsideTheRink.com is your one-stop shop for all your NHL, AHL, and ECHL news, insight, and analysis. In this episode, we're going to discuss how do you fix the Bruins' top 9, and do the Bruins have a backup goalie problem? And Jim Montgomery and the players seem to disagree on where the Florida Panthers live. Is it in their heads or not? You can subscribe to the Inside the Rink YouTube channel right now and help us with a click, or right there with the QR code if you're watching on YouTube. You can also follow us on X at Bruins Benders, and go to this QR code right here for Ticketmaster and support our show via Ticketmaster and buy your Bruins tickets right here with this code, or go to the concert, or wherever the hell you want to do. Maybe you'll see the Nutcracker this winter. I don't care.
Trans-Siberian Orchestra?
Yes.
Is that your ball? Is that your jam? You in on that?
Yeah. What is it? The Nutcracker used to be the old TV38 theme.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Nutcracker. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. You don't want me to sing the whole thing, but here we are. Bruins are 3-2 after quite a few games on the rapid review.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was back at home opener against the Montreal Canadiens, a 6-4 win in that opener, where the Montreal Canadiens are the worst team in goals expected defensively. And the Bruins took advantage with 6 goals and beat them hated Canadiens to get off the schneid after losing their opener to the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, a nice win at home against a team that they should beat at home. In Montreal, hung around a little bit. The Bruins had some defensive lapses in this one, and that's been kind of a theme throughout the early part of the season for the Boston. The defense and the goaltending hasn't really been up to the level that we've come to expect from the Bruins. So, it's good to get a win against a bad Canadiens team. But the game probably was a little closer than it should have been, I feel like.
Yeah, and then on the 12th of October, a 2-1 win in overtime as David Pastrnak won it on a beautiful pass by Mason Lohrei to beat the Los Angeles Kings, who have gone on to give up all sorts of goals since. But the Bruins get the win and get 2 in a row at home against the Kings.
Yeah, it was, again, a nice win. But, the same kind of issue. I think Swayman in this one made like 34 saves on 37 shots or some crazy number like that, like giving up way too many shots, way too many high danger chances. And that was a little bit of a problem last year. The goaltending was so good that it was kind of hidden and kind of masked, but it was there kind of underneath it all, as No Doubt would say. But
we're doing an episode of all music lyrics. Sometimes
we just talking musical lyrics. See how long we can go.
See how long we go. Yeah, we go quite a bit.
Yeah. Anyways, it really was a problem for them last year, and it's been carried over into this year where they're giving up way too many chances.
Then an early signature loss at home on the holiday against the Florida Panthers, 4-3 loss to the Panthers. Not really that close either. The Panthers, of course, just have some dominance over the Bruins. Bruins haven't been able to figure that out. This was a game where they were out without probably two of their 3 or 4 best players on the team, and Sasha Barkov and Matt Tkachuk, and the Bruins still cannot get over the schneid and beat them. Lohrei scores a late goal, but it's not enough for Boston, and they drop another game, 2 already this season, to the defending Stanley Cup champions, and it begins this, it continues this sort of thought that there's really no way that the Bruins can beat them as currently constructed.
I would agree with that. I think that's true. I also feel like The Bruins were never in this game. They were down 2-0 early. They score a shorthanded goal, and you're like, okay, 2-1, end of the first. Maybe we can climb back into it, have a little momentum, and then Florida scores 2 quick goals right away in like 52 seconds, I think. 2 goals up 4-1 in the second, and just put it away. The Bruins did climb back a little bit late, but the Bruins really didn't have any chance. Once Florida gets a lead, especially a 3-goal lead, the game's pretty much over. And they have struggled with Florida, and we'll talk about it a little later. But are the Bruins, are the Panthers in the Bruins' heads? Some people think yes, and some people think no. So it's interesting who believes what, and how all that will kind of play out over the course of the season, because it seems like maybe there's a little bit of a disconnect there, and that bears watching going forward.
It does. And then just last night on Wednesday night, a late one in Colorado, 5-3 win for Boston. They needed one. They're playing a struggling Avalanche team that gives up a ton of goals, and the Bruins get 5 of them. 5-3 win, where the story again was the fourth line that begins the scoring with Cole Koepke early on. And then after a Ross Colton goal, it was Charlie Coyle who got on the scoreboard, and the second line showed up a little bit more, or a heck of a lot more, actually, one which is much needed after Jim Montgomery called out the top 6. And Boston gets a win in Colorado to kick off this short little 3-game road trip that's a little bit sneaky tough, and they get a win in the altitude, and it was a nice win, at least to sort of get past the whole Florida Panther hangover.
Yeah, they get past Florida. They do get a win in Colorado, which is a tough place to play for teams. Florida's a little Colorado's a little undermanned. Missing some key guys in Devin Taves and Nishushkin, Lehkonen. So certainly missing some key pieces. But Boston gets the win. They get back above 500, which is good. And it's a good way to start the road trip. Some new guys on the team go out, bond a little bit, have a little camaraderie and so forth, and see if you can get some of your issues fixed while you're out there, maybe, and come back to Boston and start playing the right way again.
And you used to have that circus, that whatever it was, that week-long circus trip, Barnum and Bailey circus thing, where you had to go out for 10 days and on the West Coast or whatever. So it is good to get out away from Boston, away from home, and sort of bond a little, and hopefully it continues for a good little stretch here for the Bruins, who could use some points. And like you said, they could use sort of a time to get the ship righted and get on their game, especially defensively, where there's still a lot of leaky holes and still a lot of coverage issues for them. All right, 7 Chirps is sponsored by Lops Brewing. Lops are a brewing and tasting room in downtown Woonsocket, Rhode Island, specializing in small batch ales and lagers. You can use the coupon code SPORTS to get 10% off your online order at lopsbrewing.com. It's open 7 days a week, and you can follow them at Lops Brewing on social media for new beers and events, including the Bruins Benders Bar Down Live podcast, which will be at Lops Brewing in Woonsocket, Rhode Island on October the 26th at 5 o'clock podcast live. And then a game at 7, a watch party against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and a Halloween party to boot.
Yeah. And they're going to be releasing our beer again. Bar Down New England IPA will be out there, flowing from the taps. So come down, say hello, throw in a costume, listen to the podcast, and then watch some hockey with us.
Yeah, get it right. Get the podcast right from the tap, if you will.
Yes.
Yeah. Do that.
That's a nice reference by you.
Thank you. It will also do a post-game live, which the Bruins Benders post-game live has been kicking it all season long so far. 5 games, 5 post-game lives. We're getting right after it. So you can join us on the YouTube channel here and Inside the Rink, and we will be doing the post-game lives immediately after each and every Bruins game, if God is so willing. So hopefully that does. It's delivering in-depth analysis, fan reaction, and more immediately after every Bruins game. You can get in the comment section, as many do, and we'll talk about your comments on the air.
Mhm.
And you can join us on YouTube and Facebook and X. You can get the link all over those places. You can get bent with us after
Yes.
every single Bruins game. How about that?
I mean, that's clutch. That's key. That's good stuff right there.
It
I think
is.
everybody should do it. Everybody should go to the YouTube. That's the
Mhm.
place to watch. You can get it on the other places, but, it's a step down.
Yeah,
A
go
little
right
lower.
to the source.
Go right to the source. Go right to
Yeah.
YouTube. That's where you wanna watch it. You should subscribe over there, watch it over there. But if you can't get to YouTube for somehow, if you're trapped onto something heavy, whatever the case may be, you can't get to YouTube, you can watch it on Facebook and Twitter will allow it. We would rather you go to the YouTube and watch there, but if you have to watch on one of the other platforms,
Right.
go ahead. We'll begrudgingly allow it.
We'll allow your lifeless body to watch the YouTube. Watch it on Facebook if you have to. Chirp one. How do you fix the top 9? So Jim Montgomery gets all up in the business of the top 6. The top 9 is a little bit of a scrambled mess. And right last night it was Trent Frederick on with Charlie Coyle and Brad Marchand. It seemed to work a little bit better. Morgan Geekie had the scratch in this one. And then the third line was a mess last night. It was as bad as it's been all year with Max Jones and Riley Tufte along with Matt Patra. The fourth line continues to carry it. How do you fix the top 9?
It's a hard question because they are, as we've said, many times, there's a bunch of not a bunch, but there's some forwards missing there. Some guys that you don't have or need to plug in there that to fill some production. You don't have a Jake DeBrusk. So, you need to fill his, 30 goals or 25 goals or 20 goals. And, you're probably a forward or two short. So I personally, in order to get Brad Marchand going, I'm putting him on the top line with Lindholm and Pastrnak. I'm going back that way. I'm putting Zach on line 2 with Coyle and Patra. And then I'm putting Frederick and Geekie and Jones together on line 3. And that's I mean, you don't have another. I mean, if everybody wants to put Phil Esposito, Brazeau in place of Max Jones on line 3, and he'll score 76 goals, I'm all for it. I don't think Max Jones or Justin Brazeau are scoring 76 goals in their careers.
No.
So we'll leave that where it is. But that's what I would do personally. Will they do that? No, they won't. But that's what I would like to see if we can jumpstart Marchand and get the second line cooking a little bit more too.
Yeah, I'd like to see Patra eventually center the second line with Marchand and somebody. And then I'd like to see Frederick, Coyle, and Geekie back together on the third line. And I think that makes your third and fourth lines pretty solid. And then, see what you have with the second line. You need a second line winger. You need hopefully a veteran guy who could score at the deadline. I don't know how you can do it with very limited cap space. I just don't know if it's not Fabian Lysell. I don't know when you try that. I would have tried that already, or I'd certainly try it very soon before you get too far into the season. But I'd experiment with it at least. I mean, I've seen different reports about him not playing that well, and then I see all sorts of video that shows him having some really nice, moments and highlights. So I don't know what to think because I don't, I haven't watched it, watched him a ton, and certainly not watched him in person.
I looked at the stat sheet, and I'll tell you this: he is 2 games played 0-0-0-1. So
okay, I mean, that's not great. I guess
that's not exactly filling up the stat sheet in the right way. So I mean, I like you said though, I would have entertained that already. I would have tried that out. Maybe the follow up backup plan there is Tyler Johnson. I don't know even how you can sign him with the amount of cap space they have right now. I don't know how that's going to all go down. Or Georgii Merkulov, possibly. He has 2 assists, I believe, in 2 games so far down there. So he seems to go down there and play well. Maybe that's his comfort level. Maybe he's a 4A player, Merkulov. Or maybe he just has never really received a fair shake at this level. I don't know. But his play away from the puck up here concerns me. And I'm not sure he has the skating speed to carry the puck and be effective at this level, because I don't know if he's elusive enough like Patra is to slip checks and get away from guys the way Patra can, because he isn't quick enough. Lysell has the quickness, so I mean that's what separates him, in my opinion, from Merkulov.
Yeah. Chirp 2, do the Bruins have a backup goalie problem?
Right now they do, because the backup goalie has like an .845 save percentage or something like that in 2 games. I mean, I know it's 2 games, and I know it was Florida, who is, juggernaut, and Colorado, which certainly has a ton of offensive weapons, but it isn't necessarily the teams they played. It's the goals he's allowed and the goals that are going in. I feel like there's some of these that you'd like back. We mentioned it on Post Game Live last night. The Cale Makar had a shot that, I mean, I suppose there was a little bit of traffic, but there was an awful lot of net there. And then Rantanen had a one-timer that, he just didn't read the play well, didn't seem to get over quick enough. And Brian Boucher on the broadcast said, that's a save that most goalies read the play fairly easily and are over in position to make a save there. And the Bruins just didn't get it. So there's some issues there. And I feel like, Korpisalo's days may be numbered. I mean, I know he has a 3-year deal. But Sweeney said going into training camp that, the best goalies or the best goalie would be on the team. So if he continues to struggle and one of those guys in Providence is playing well, I wouldn't be surprised if they waive him. I wouldn't.
You don't like his 4.57 goals against average? I don't know. I mean,
I think last night may have been, and I could be mistaken. I certainly didn't look it up, but it may have been the first time in the history of the NHL 2 goalies started that both had goals against averages over 6 when they started the game. I think Georgiev was like 6.81 and Korpisalo was like 6.45 or 6.57.
That's some high end goalie.
Awful.
Yeah, that's high end. Look, they have to get that thing right because here's what I thought about today. Let's say Jeremy Swayman plays 60 games, 62 games. What does that look like at the end of the year as far as playoffs? Nobody knows. He's never played that many games. It has to matter in some level. It has to. He's never played that many games in the season. So does he go into the playoffs after playing 62 games? And then is he still as sharp in the playoffs? Nobody knows. So that's a problem. Or it's certainly something to look at, or a mystery of sorts. So I'm not feeling extra comfortable about that right there. So either Korpisalo does it, or you bury his contract in the AHL and you bring up Bussy and you see what you have there. And then beyond that, you might be kind of screwed.
Yeah, I think you would be screwed because from what I saw from DiPietro, in the preseason, he did not look ready to play at the NHL level.
No.
So, and he's the one that's playing better in Providence right now. I think they each split a game over the weekend, and DiPietro played pretty well. Bussy got shelled. I think they lost 5-2 or something like that. So
that's not comforting.
No, it isn't. Their one Jeremy Swayman pulled hamstring away from,
disaster.
Yes.
Yeah. Disaster. Yeah.
So Bulldogs gotta, stay in the crease there and keep it under control there. Mini Hextall from getting penalties and swinging his stick and be just like him to,
Mhm.
finally goalie fight somebody and he ends up getting suspended or something.
Yeah, breaks his hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, he did, he did say this. He was going to set the goalie market, and he did, because the next two goalies signed for 8.25 per year, and Ottinger just signed for the exact same contract as Jeremy Swayman.
Yes, he did, and Linus Ullmark, same AAV but shorter years. So yeah, he said it. He wanted to set
He
it. And
did.
he said it.
He said it. He didn't set it for as high as he thought, or
No.
as high as he strung everybody along for
What
it. But
do you think is going on at Igor Shesterkin's head? Because he turned down 10 and change from the Rangers. He was like, no
I
thanks.
thought it was 11. Yeah.
11.
Yeah.
He turned down 11 from the Rangers. He's like, no thanks. He
Yeah.
thinks he's that much better than the rest of the
He's
NHL
not getting
goalie wise.
I'll tell you what, though, he's going to get. I think I'm going to predict he gets 8 years, 10 million. I think he gets 8 for 80. I do.
Yeah,
Just it's I think he does. I think it's not going to be 11, but I think he gets 10. I mean, there's a precedent there. I mean, Price had 10.5, and Vasilevsky's had up there.
Well, he probably feels like he's better than those guys, and if they're asking, and those guys got that kind of money, years back with the lower cap, he's probably thinking, I'm in that neighborhood.
Yeah. That's it's gonna be
Probably
dicey.
Swayman was thinking too, but
and he's unrestricted, which makes it dicier.
It certainly does.
Because look, who says the San Jose Sharks don't be like, you know what? Let's go get Igor Shesterkin.
Yeah,
and give him $11 million a year.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like it could be a franchise changer. To be honest,
absolutely.
So it's
The
not
LA
our
Kings
thing.
have been, I mean, I guess they traded for Kemper, but the Kings have been looking for a goalie, and
Colorado.
Detroit's felt like they were maybe a goalie away. There's some teams out there that might feel like, hey, we get a goalie, we're right in this thing.
Yeah, maybe the Utah Utes.
Yeah,
maybe they do it.
2 Utes.
Yeah, just two Utes. Chirp 3. Jim Montgomery and the players seem to disagree on where the Florida Panthers live. Is it in their heads or not? So here's Jim Montgomery talking about the mental aspect of Panthers Bruins.
How big is that overall, though, when it's not the guys typically fight, but it's you or it's Zaka, and does that kind of speak to your culture?
Yeah, I mean, it says a lot about how much we care about one another, and and want to protect each other. It goes around the room. It's not always your turn, but when it is, you got to step up. And like I said, that's how you build chemistry and shows how much we care about each other.
I think we've talked about it in here, just being hard to play against, in between the whistles, and then let them take the dumb penalties. So I think we got to live by that one a little more.
See your best play, take a shot. Yeah, again, that they're winning the mental side of the battle on us. And Pasta got hit, and I love what Pav did. Went in, defended him. That's great. But the penalties after that, I mean, it's just not discipline. And it's all 4 games that we take at least 4 minus. Can't win hockey games that way. And then we can't lose as many battles as we do. I mean, they're the standard right now in the NHL for winning battles. And we're not up to that level yet. We have to vastly improve that level.
The Bruins the players seem to have a problem with coaches who speak in the media about them. It's happened with Cassidy. Like, Marchand was really kind of downplaying it, saying, no, it's fine, and so forth, and not that big of a deal. Montgomery seems to think it is a big deal, and I agree with him. I think it's a big deal. So it's just a sort of a little bit of a disconnect there, and I know the players and coaches aren't really talking to each other about this very topic probably, but it was very different, a very different tune about the Panthers being in the Bruins' heads, and I think it is true. And I wonder if the players and the coach really kind of are on the same page there.
I don't think they are. I don't think they are on the same page, and I agree with you and Monty. I think the Panthers are in their heads. I think the players are trying to downplay it, because what are you going to say? Like I'm not up to their level. Like I'm not sure how the Bruins players can answer that. But in the media anyway, if you catch a guy on the side off the record, maybe he's honest and said, yeah, like we don't know what to do with this team. We haven't found a way to get over the hump against them yet. So I do feel like it's an issue, and until the players kind of, it's like being an alcoholic almost. It's like you have to admit there's a problem before you can get help. Well, they need to admit there's a problem before they can help themselves here.
Right.
Because as long as they're like, oh no, it's not a big deal, like we'll figure it out. Well, you haven't figured it out yet, and it's cost you the last 2 playoffs. So until you admit, yeah, we have a problem and we got to do something differently, then you're going to end up with the same results.
And the Bruins don't play Florida again until January. And that is on ABC. It's an ABC game, I believe.
Well, great, because the Bruins always play real well when it's a national game.
Yeah, the national games, they don't typically stand out in those. But yeah, I think it is a problem, and they play them on January 11th at 1 p.m. in Florida. So that is going to be quite the now God knows what the state of each team will be then. I mean, it's a solid almost 3 months away. But it will be just, after the first of the year, we'll see where the Bruins are in the standings. Could be a really big game. And that's going to be a game where they're going to have to show that they've learned some things discipline-wise, how to play Florida, maybe make some adjustments on how they attack Florida. Yeah, it's more the adjustments than the fighting and all that stuff and the thuggery. It's more the scheme and how they attack Florida's aggressive forecheck. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see them more poised and more productive, moving the puck up the ice.
Yeah, I want to see
on the road.
I want to see adjustments, and I want to see discipline is what I want to see. I feel like physically, like they have enough guys that can stand up to Florida.
Sure, they do.
The physicality part of it.
Yeah.
It's the discipline and it's the adjustments. How do you counteract their forecheck? You haven't been able to figure it out for 3 years. It's time to try something else. Whether it's going back to Claude, D to D to D to D to D to D, and until they back up or until you have an outlet, do that. You don't have to play 500 miles an hour against that team.
No,
their forecheck kind of stirs you up, and you get a little jumpy, a little less poised, and you tend to make mistakes. If you're a little more poised with it and you take your time and you move up ice a little more carefully, that's fine. As long as you're not, giving up odd man rushes and having them, cause turnovers that end up in the back of your net. So they need to find a different way to play. And that's what I would like to see, in that game in January. Hopefully the game means something at that point in time.
Yeah, for sure. Chirp 4, does the Jeremy Swayman contract prevent the team from adding players?
Yes, it does.
Sure does.
They have 400 and change of cap space, which is less than a minimum league contract. So you can't even sign a guy to the veteran minimum. The only way they are able to make I think that's why Tyler Johnson's not signed and he's just hanging around. They just don't have the money to sign him right now. Somebody needs to get hurt and they can put somebody on, injured reserve, either that or one of these extra forwards that they're carrying, they're going to have to send down and save some cap money that way. So you can get another guy signed. But, until you get to the deadline and you can prorate some of that stuff over the course of the remainder of the season, or you can find a team to eat part of the contract. You may be able to fit in, one guy, but it's going to be, Sweeney's going to earn his money, having to try to, make this team a finished product. He said early in the training camp that the team wasn't a finished product. Well, how do you add to a team that's not a finished product when you don't have any money to get any players?
You also have guys who are coming up at the end of the year, and you have to figure that out. Like, who
Right.
you gonna go with? Like,
Yeah.
are you gonna go with Morgan Geekie, who you just scratched? Like, I mean, are
Yeah.
you gonna give him a contract? You seem to have a lot of like players like him, like and players down on the farm that could come up and be like him. Do you continue on with him, or do you? I don't know. I don't know what you'd get, but do you include him in a package and move on from him? I mean, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you do. You just not a lot of room there. And if you add Tyler Johnson, there's even less room.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't if because they're going to need something. They're going to need another. They're going to need some scoring for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how you add it. I just don't know how you do it. Chirp 5. Can the fourth line sustain this type of production?
No.
No,
They can't.
They're not going to have 60 points each.
No, I mean,
No.
Cole Koepke, I think didn't they say he had 3 points in his
career?
In his career, and then he
Yeah.
had a 3-point game the other day.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
you can't expect the goals to keep going in. What you can expect, though, is for them to play below the goal line, play solid defensively, continue to hit and not get scored on. You can all that stuff, I would say, is sustainable. I think they can continue to do all those good things. I just don't think the puck's going to continue to go in like this. It's impossible. I mean, you would have 3 guys on the fourth line in 10 minutes a night with 80 points. That's unheard of. I mean, that's just.
Yeah.
I mean, if that happens, they're winning the fucking Stanley Cup. Sorry,
Oh, they are. I mean, someone asked me today about the fourth line, and is it a good thing that they have this type of fourth line? And yes, it is. Like, if everything else gets figured out, this is a game changing fourth line when it comes to playoffs, without a question. I mean, it's just like the Merlot line. This is the type of line you want, and they can potentially have that in the playoffs. The problem is that your top 6 just isn't where it needs to be. I would not break up this line. I mean, I'm seeing people on X talking about move this guy to here and this guy to there, and that's the trap you fall into.
Yep.
Like, so now you're going to screw that up, and now you're going to have no chemistry at all, and every line's just going to be a scrambled mess. And I don't buy into that. If you want to bump this line up to the third line and give him, 14, 15 minutes like you did last night, Kaslik played almost 17 minutes last night. Like, if you want to do that, then fine, make him the third line, and then rebuild your fourth line with other people. But don't friggin' take someone off this line. That would be just asinine, moronic.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, it's the best line in hockey right now. Like, why would you break it up just because the other lines suck? Like, that's not how you do it. Figure out the other lines.
Right.
But
I mean,
you
that's
can't
what
break this
that's
thing
what they
up.
had for the Bergeron, with the Bergeron Pasta Marchand line for the longest time. It was like that line, and then the rest of them were,
Yeah.
they were fine. But you needed that line to win games.
Yeah, remember Cassie wouldn't break up Bergeron, Pasternak, Marchand. He wouldn't do it for months.
No,
and people would brag on him and stuff. But it was the right move because that's your most productive line.
Yeah, they needed that line to win games. When that line didn't score goals, they didn't win. And it's kind of like that now with this fourth line. If they don't produce, or if they have an off night, or the Bruins are struggling to win and score goals. So you have to leave them together at least until you can get the other stuff kind of sorted out and develop a little bit more consistency on those other 3 lines.
Yeah. Chirp 6. Are we overrating the Bruins defense? Goals against per 60 is 3.42. This was supposed to be the strength of the team. You put a bunch of money into it. You have, Mason Lowry, who's a good young player. You brought in Peak, who's actually been really good at Andrew Peak, and he doesn't get a lot of credit, but he's been really, really good and playing a little bit extra minutes than he usually does because he's been good, and he's been under the radar good. Brandon Carlo has not been great, although he was better against Colorado.
Yep.
Hampus Lindholm has been pretty good for most of the time. And of course, we've had our issues with Charlie McAvoy, and And then Nikita Zadorov just hasn't been, I guess, what was advertised to me yet. I don't know what's happening there or when we're going to see that, but I think we need to see a little more from him. But right now, there's some coverage issues, and also the penalty kill has not been very good at all. They gave up 3 power play goals last night, and it's just not the same type of penalty kill we've seen in the past. And again, new guys and that sort of thing. But I'm a little concerned. I'm not all that concerned though. I'm just falling back on they have too many good players to be not a good defensive core.
I agree with you. I think it's kind of a blip right now, maybe.
Right.
While the guys kind of get things sorted out. Like you said, some new guys. There's some new centers too, which is important for coverage in the Bruins D zone. Penalty kill hasn't been good. Usually that's, the Bruins are at the top of the league with that. Some of that maybe is goaltending related, not getting some saves there on the power play that you would normally have gotten previous years. So, it's a combination of things that I think that can get some of it straightened out. And like you said, too many good players to not still be a good defensive team. The backup goaltending, though, is an issue. That's the one area where I would say, you're not as good there, clearly, as you've been in the past. And I'm not sure that gets solved. So there's going to be probably a handful of games this year where you're like, I'm not sure what we're going to get out of the guy. And you'll have to kind of play by ear and see what happens. But, that's the one area where, you're probably not as strong as you have been before.
And the other thing is you gotta find your pairings and stick with them for a bit.
Yeah.
Let's not bounce people around and give McAvoy a different partner every other game. Like, can you find your pairings, stick it out for a few games, develop some chemistry within the pairs? Like that's another thing. Is because I think you need to keep playing more and more and more together. That's why Grzelcyk and McAvoy were good together, because they just knew each other so well. And I think
they
that's
played together all the way going back to BU.
Yeah. Right. And that's why it was so hard to take Grzelcyk off that pairing, even though it was a top pairing. And he really couldn't handle the physicality. But the numbers were there every year. I mean, the numbers were there is tops in the league numbers wise in a lot of categories.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you got to keep the pairings together and kind of build that chemistry and figure out if it's Zadorov, figure out if it's Lowry or if it's Lindholm, whatever. Figure it out and then stay with it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. I think that's something that they do need to do. And I'm not sure what the right answer is there, because I'm not sure. As you've said before, I think Lowry and Hampus Lindholm are very similar players.
Mm-hmm.
And then Zadorov is kind of a completely different guy. So you have two that are kind of the same and then one that's different. So to me, if Zadorov doesn't work with McAvoy, I think either of the other guys could, just because they're both similar.
Sure.
So then it just comes down to who do you want to play with whom and matchup wise and experience and so forth. So but they do need to kind of leave it alone and let it kind of develop and let some chemistry develop between the guys. I think that's been a fault of Monty's through his coaching tenure here, is a little too quick to yank a guy from a pairing or from a game or from a line and mix things up. And it's hard to develop chemistry that way sometimes, where Claude was kind of the complete opposite. He was just rolled 4 lines. He didn't even have to show up to the rink. You could watch the whole game from dressing room.
Right. Yeah.
Roll 4 lines. It would be the same 4 lines over and over and over and over again, and the same D pairs, and get what you get. And eventually, I think it helped them, because they did have tremendous chemistry within the lines and within the D pairs. So we'll see how that all shakes out, but they definitely should try to give that a little more time.
I'd be behind Zadorov playing with McAvoy, but I don't love giving him McAvoy's minutes. You know what I mean? Like I just think it's too much time on ice. Like in a perfect world, I think it's Lindholm and McAvoy, it's Lower Island and Carlo, and it's Zadorov and Peak. I just think that's what it is. Zadorov playing any type of McAvoy or anything close to McAvoy minutes. I don't know. I just don't know.
Do you worry that the Peak Zadorov pairing is too slow?
Well, yes, I do. I worry that the team is too slow.
Yeah.
But yes, I do worry that's too slow. But I also worry that Zadorov and Carlo is two big oak trees, and
Right.
then I mean it's McAvoy or bust, and then McAvoy's playing 25 minutes a game. Is Zadorov playing anywhere near that? God, I'd rather not. I'd rather not. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I just think it's too much Nikita Zadorov. But
Yeah, I mean,
I haven't seen enough though.
No, I mean, he hasn't been good this year,
Right.
for sure. So I don't know if we've seen the player that he can be, and hopefully we do. Hopefully it's not who we've seen up until this point, because you've paid a lot of money for a guy who's not very good.
Yep.
So hopefully that's not the case. But I feel like he needs to kind of show himself as to the type of player that he is, and hopefully it's a better player. Will he be the 25-minute a night guy? I still don't think he's that, but he could be a second pair, hopefully. But I like the other guys better right now. I just do, on the left side anyway.
Yeah. Chirp 7, concerned about Brad Marchand at all?
Yeah, I am. I think I haven't thought that he's looked right really this whole season up until this point. In the preseason, he only played a game or two in the early parts of the season, coming off of the surgeries. He just seemed a little slow, a little out of it. I mean, you told me off air that he had just started working out, I think sometime in August. So I think he's behind. I don't think he's had enough puck touches. I don't think he's had enough skating. I don't know where his conditioning is. I don't know where his physical, weightlifting and strength is. I don't know if he's still fighting something, if he tried to come back a little too early. So all those things concern me. It's all swirling around in my head. Like, is he cashed because he's too old? Is he still hurt a little bit? Is he just not up to par with his conditioning and so forth because of the injuries? So there's all kinds of things that worry me. And he doesn't shoot as much as he used to. And I was wondering if that was like a wrist or the elbow or whatever he was dealing with. Is he still dealing with that? Does he not want to let go of that patented drag snap because he's worried about, his elbow or his arm or whatever, so all the things that made him effective, are making him kind of ineffective right now. And that worries me. And then he's not playing with the same level of talent. He's playing with fucking Morgan Geeky. Sorry, John. But, and that's ridiculous. And Charlie Coyle, as much as we love the guy, is not a guy who should be probably playing with Brad Marchand. So there are a bunch of things that concern me. Some within Marchand's control, some not. Some are team problems, not Marchand problems. But in the overall grand scheme of things, there's something on that second line that's not right now, and he's a part of that. So all of that concerns me.
Yeah, and then the power play thing. Like, he's not great on the power play. Like, I think he stalls it out sometimes. I think him and Pasternak try to do too much sometimes on the power play. So that's another thing. And I think I'm going to say that it's conditioning, because he didn't start working out at all, he said last night, until like mid-August.
Yeah.
So, okay, then I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt there. So I'm going to give him, another month or whatever, into November or whatever, and see what it looks like. So right now I'm just going to chalk it up to conditioning and coming off of surgeries. And boy, he's had a lot of surgeries. Jesus. I mean, that's a common man. I mean, if I had all those surgeries, I wouldn't be playing hockey right now.
He had
So-
He had 5 surgeries in the last 2
Yeah, he
years.
had 5
right?
surgeries in 2 years, right? At
double hip
36
and
years
then-
old.
And then 3 last year. Yeah, at 36. I mean, that's
That's pretty serious. So
and he's had other
Um,
stuff before that. It's not like those are the first 5 surgeries that
Sure.
he had.
yeah,
He's had groins and other stuff too,
Sure.
going back. So he's got a lot of miles on that body. A lot of miles.
100%. And it makes, I'll tell you what, as we go forward, it makes the next contract more and more interesting.
does.
Because, I mean, is he going to be someone who hurts the team by hanging on too long, which could be another whole can of worms.
Yeah, I mean, you wonder, is he gonna
So you
hang
wonder.
around to do it,
Yeah.
or is he gonna, is he gonna pull a Bergeron where he gives the team a little bit of a team friendly thing to be
Yeah.
able to get some more players in here? I have a feeling he's gonna go more that route. It might be incentive based, kind of like Bergeron's was, where it's a low base salary and then some extras for production or whatever. I feel like he's going to be kind of more in that camp, but we'll
Really?
see.
Okay.
We'll see.
6.3. That's what he's taking.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think he's taking. I think he's done that thing.
How about
And I
this?
think he's
3.6.
flip it. 3.6. And was that Canadian? Yeah. I don't. Yeah. Okay. Great.
This is number backwards and it's less money. So
Yeah. It's Australian, Dan. I don't know.
it's south of the equator. You
Yeah.
got to flip it upside down.
I'll tell you what. I wouldn't be surprised if he took. He's not going to take. He's not going to get Stamkos money or whatever. But I'll tell you, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a similar deal that he has now. Not the years, but just a similar AAV. Because he's seen Swayman and McAvoy and Pasternak and all these guys get market value now, and he's been taking less. And I don't know if that. I just don't know if that whole I'm going to take $2 million incentive based nonsense. I just don't think he's going to. I think he's going to say, look, this is fair. What I'm making now are roughly around it.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was in the Bergie camp before though, where he was like a take less guy.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, the Swayman thing.
On.
And everything, I don't know.
Why would he hang on for any other reason than to win? And would he stay here or would he go somewhere else? Would he go and play with Crosby in Pittsburgh or something? Like
that would be the only thing, McKinnon in Colorado or Crosby in Pittsburgh are like the only scenarios where he could be enticed. Because I think at this point in his career, he wants to retire a Bruin. He'll be one of the greatest Bruins ever.
Mhm.
If he plays another year or two and puts up solid numbers, then he's up there. I mean, he's in the conversation of top 5 ever.
Sure.
If he does that, and it's the whole longevity thing, and Bergeron did the same thing and played his whole career. So I think that is something that's attractive to him. The only way he doesn't stay, I think, is for the opportunity to play with Crosby, probably, or McKinnon, because they've talked about playing together.
Mhm.
But I don't see that happening. I'm just wondering if it hurts the team to continue to have him on the team. And I'd love to see him be on the third line next year, honestly. If this is going to continue the track here, I think he'll fit really nicely on the third line.
Yeah.
Next season, and if he wants to do that, then great. But I don't know if he's going to continue to be a top 6 on a Stanley Cup contender if his body's breaking down.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
I
and I think that's what he wants. I think he wants to win. That's why that's the only reason I think he'll take less is because I think he wants to win, and I think he probably knows right now in his heart of hearts that this team isn't good enough. This forward group isn't good enough.
He has to know.
I think he would want to bring in more talent, and in order to do that, he's going to have to take less.
Right.
So, we'll see.
People are nuts if they think that. I mean, look back to 2011 and look at the lines from 2011.
Well, I was
going
to say, and maybe we can do this on another show, on another episode. But if you go through right now the rest of the league and the rest of the league's top 6, Where do you think the Bruins' top 6 forwards rank?
Ooh, let's do that.
Compared to the rest of the league's top 6 forwards.
Let's do that. I'm gonna say bottom third.
I would agree.
I'm gonna say bottom third.
I don't know off
Right.
like what the other team's top 6s are off the top. I
We
know
could do this. We could do this thing. We're gonna go through all 31 teams. Who would you rather have?
Yeah.
First and second line. Who would you rather have?
Which top 6 would you rather have?
Right.
We'll do that. Or top 9. Yeah.
We're doing that.
Okay.
Doing that next episode. All right, now to pay the bills. So here is a message from our fine folks at DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook is Boston's hometown sportsbook. It's live right here in Massachusetts. Bet local on all your favorite sports from the comfort of your own home with DraftKings. To celebrate, all new customers will receive up to $200 in bonus bets when you sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook using code ITR. You can now bet local on money lines, spreads, props, and more with one of America's top-rated sportsbooks. That's DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and sign up with the code ITR to get up to $200 in bonus bets to use. Now that mobile sports betting is live in Massachusetts, that's code ITR, and it's only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
If your loved one is experiencing problems with gambling, call 800-327-5050 or visit helplinema.org to speak with a trained specialist, free and confidentially 24/7. Must be 21 plus. Physically present in Mass. Eligibility restrictions apply. Subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as free bets. Terms at DraftKings.com/MA.
The beauty for this week, and it is a beaut. It's an all-time beaut. It's a league-wide beaut. The fourth line of the Boston Bruins.
This'll teach those filthy bastards who's lovable.
What a lovable bunch this is. Each guy with 5 points combined for a plus 26 with 50 hits. It's just an epic job. I'll tell you what, Sweeney gets some credit for including Kastelic in that deal.
Mhm.
And then Cole Koepke out of nowhere. For now anyway. Is just and it syncs up well. They're all big. They're all pretty fast and quick on their skates. They're all aggressive. They're all willing to do what's needed. They seem to be developing some excellent chemistry, and I think that this could be a Merlot-ish kind of line for them.
100%. And another thing that we forgot to add in there is between Beecher and Kastelic too. They're winning almost 59% of the faceoffs.
Yeah, I mean that's another thing altogether.
They're 40 for 40 out of 64 on faceoffs.
Wow.
Yep,
that's great.
So, yeah, I mean they're really doing a good job all around, and I think
a bang up job.
I think they're 8-0 in goals.
9-0.
Goals 9-0. Goals 4. There you go.
Yep.
9-0.
Goals 4, 5-on-5. Yeah.
Yep.
In 40 minutes. I think I saw a stat where there was a line last year that was in like it might have been like 8 goals in like 400 minutes or something, and they had all these goals in like 40 minutes or something. It was insane. Connor Ryan had it on X.
Yeah.
I'll try to find it as we talk here, but just ungodly numbers, and they, like you said, not going to last.
No,
but,
I mean it can't last.
in that way. But
with the production can't last, but the defense and the hitting and the face-off wins and the penalty killing and the playing pucks down low and not getting scored on, all that stuff can sustain that. It's just they're not all going to have 80 points by the time the season's over. So that part of it's not going to last, but the defensive really responsible and the hitting and all that stuff that they can certainly sustain that. So now we'll move over to
one thing before we head on to that. So here's the tweet.
Okay.
The Bruins generated 8 goals at 5-on-5 play during the 401 minutes and 55 seconds of ice time that the Achari, Corrali, Wagner line logged during the 18-19 season. The Bruins have already generated 8 5-on-5 goals during the Beecher, Kastelic, Koepke lines, 39 minutes of total ice time. Unbelievable.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Versus 40 minutes.
And that was a fourth line on a Stanley Cup,
Yeah.
finalist team.
Yeah.
So there you go. That answers your question. Yes, it's a very good thing that the Bruins have this fourth line. It's got to figure everything else out.
Yes. And those are big things to figure out.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
All the my 3/4 of the lines. Yeah, sure.
Yes. And the Bender, going back a few years, may even called him a whipping boy at one point in time. Our buddy Trent Frederick.
I'm a Bender.
Trent has not
Back in the saddle.
like a house of fire here. He was a little bit better in the last game against Colorado when he got moved up to the second line, but so far 1 goal, 1 point in 5 games, and he is a team worst -7.
And here's the good news. They can go to the negotiation table at the end of the year and say, here's what happened when we put you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
This is what happened. So this is who you are, and this is what you get. In $3 million it is, or whatever it is. Like this is a good little bargaining chip for them to say, you stay right in your lane as a third line player, and third line players make X and sign on the dotted line. Like that's it. So, no need to overpay, no need to do any of that. Let St. Louis do that.
Is he an RFA or a UFA?
He is a UFA.
So he's gone, in my opinion.
He's going to St. Louis?
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll pay him.
Does he have the same agent? Do you know who his agent is?
I don't think his agent is the same guy as Swayman.
No.
Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But maybe he goes to Florida. I mean, him and Matthew Tkachuk are childhood buddies. They hate each other now, he said, but they were
childhood buddies.
So I just feel like the Bruins, with their plethora of fourth line guys, are not going to spend to the level that Frederick is going to want. And if he's a UFA, somebody's going to give him the money. Because he's a pretty reliable guy. He's shown that he can score 15 to 20 goals. He's big. He's a center. So, there's reasons for other teams to want to grab that guy.
Yeah.
Centers don't usually hit the open market. I mean, Chandler Stevenson from Vegas was a third line center in Vegas. He went to Seattle for 6 and change. Like no one's getting Trent Frederick that kind of money.
No.
The Bruins aren't, but somebody else might.
Sure.
So,
it's Alain Waugh is his agent, and that's the same agent as Danton Heinen.
Okay.
It's also Brandon Hagel who's in there, Nico Hischier. No real big time stars.
Hischier,
Hischier is probably the biggest of the bunch, to be honest. And so you get in fact. He's the biggest contract. Dylan Cousins is 2, and then Brandon Hagel's 3. So maybe there's not much of an issue there. But I could see him moving on, and I could see the Bruins playing a hard line with him too.
It would be like the Bruins when they have a center that's plays the way they want him to play, is reliable for the most part, can score a little bit, can hit. He's big. He'll fight. Stick up for teammates, and then they'll let him walk. That it would be typical of the Bruins. Like they've needed centers. They have one, and we'll see what happens with it. But I could see him, heading out of town for a bigger payday than what the Bruins are wanting to give.
But I'll tell you what, it'll be an uproar because there's a Freddie Fight Club group.
Oh sure,
sure, but. And I was, and me and Freddie, we have a history, but I don't think it's the worst thing. I don't think it's the worst thing to lose him. Like, I feel like if he walked, people would be like, oh my God, they let Freddie walk. Like, he's a third line player. Like, they have a ceiling. You know what I mean? Third and fourth line players have a ceiling, and then they move on, and you put another guy in there. You mean to tell me you can't find another guy who does what Trent Frederick can do? I mean, he's a little more of a dime a dozen than a top 6 guy who can really score goals or elite. Give me Trent Frederick's elite skill.
He does not have an elite skill.
Well, he doesn't. So, in my opinion, yeah, you'd hate to lose the asset for nothing, I guess. But how much of an asset is it? Like,
Yeah, I mean, he's like I said, he's a reliable, third line guy. I mean, that's
yeah,
what he is.
and that's what he
So,
is, and that's fine.
yeah. And I won't be turning cartwheels if the Bruins lose him, but I'm certainly not
No.
going to be crying in my Cheerios if they lose him either. But they just need to fill that spot. So that's the thing about it is like, so say Frederick goes and then you replace him with Trevor Kuntar,
Yeah.
which, I don't really have any problem with that. But is Trevor Kuntar going to give you what Trent Frederick does? Well, is he going to score, year one, 15 to 18 goals? Probably not.
Probably not. No.
But you'll be getting him for 860,000 or whatever, or 900K instead of
Right.
$3.5 million. So maybe you can use that money to get another guy, another player,
Yeah.
another top six forward, possibly. So
But how many more years is Frederick going to do that? How many more
I
years
know,
is
that's-
Frederick going to score 18 goals?
I mean, he's still young. What is he? 26, 25?
26, I think. Yeah, I think he's 26. Yeah.
So, I mean, he's still young. Kuntar's probably 22, 23 already himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just saying that, if you start taking guys off the team that score goals, pretty soon you're not going to have anybody left on the team that could score goals.
Right. Well, right. Right. Well, that's
if you replace a guy who
simple
scores
math.
15 goals
Yeah.
with a guy that scores 5 goals, that's not great.
Yeah.
If that's what you keep doing, like you took Jake DeBrusk out the team, say he's 25 goals, and Hampus Lindholm, Elias Lindholm last year had what, 13 goals or something, 12.
Elias Lindholm he had 40 points.
Yeah. So, if you keep taking guys off the team that produce and replacing them with guys that don't produce, then you have a team full of guys that don't produce, and that's not great.
Well, you know who,
And then all these guys that are, a dime a dozen.
who our producer would love them to get in the place of Trent Frederick is Tanner Jeannot of the Kings, who's a free agent at the end of the year as well. Left wing, 27 years old, same sort of situation as Freddie. Makes a little under 3. He's pretty much just like Freddie. And
I like Jeannot more actually than Freddie.
That's a guy that Connor Green's been talking about. And maybe they replace Freddie instead of having Freddie. They have Tanner Jeannot next year.
Yeah, I mean, so if he's making 3 now, though, does that mean he's making 4.5 next year?
Well,
I'm not giving him that.
I guess it all depends. He's making 2.66 right now.
So he's going to be at least 3 and change. Probably more than that. I like him, but I don't know if I like him that much. And he's not a center.
Right, he's a left wing.
But
the jury's still out if Trent Frederick's the center.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
He's playing left wing now.
Jeannot plays with more of an edge than Freddie does, though.
Sure,
he's a little bit more of a shit stirrer than Freddie is, Sarja.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be interesting. Like, would they make a ballsy move, like including Freddie in a package at the deadline? Like, if you feel he's not going to sign, then I would. Like, I would include him in a package at the deadline. Now they won't do that because they don't do that kind of thing off the roster at trade deadline time. They don't do that, but typically, I would.
I would too. I mean, I feel like anybody. I mean, really, anybody not named Swayman or Pasternak, to me, is available.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, and I'm not
in the
saying
in the off season, Hampus Lindholm's available.
Yeah. Like all the Bruins fans, I'm not saying I just want to dump all the good players on the Bruins.
Right.
Not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you give me the right deal, anybody's available. Well, actually, I mean, even Pasternak's available if you give me the right deal.
Yeah.
Like if you're saying you can have Austin Matthews, then I'm saying,
well, of course, right.
I'll take Austin Matthews.
If he had a high end center, I do
If you're
that.
saying Leon Draisaitl, Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid, sure, I'm
Sure.
trading Pastrnak,
Right.
but
Right.
obviously that's not going to happen. So
Right.
Pasternak's untouchable. Swayman, I think you have to have the goalie.
Right.
Hopefully, he's the number one. It looks like it, but we'll see. He's never played the amount of games, so we'll see how that all goes. But I would say right now, like, I'm keeping those guys, and if you're gonna blow my socks off, I'll trade anybody else on the roster.
I'll tell you what, Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha would be two guys that I would explore if people showed any interest. I'd explore those two guys.
If the Bruins fall out of it come Thanksgiving time, they should seriously consider trying to move on from
Yes, it should be like 2015. They made those trades of Lucic and Hamilton. It should be similar type of thing. Hampus Lindholm and Zacha, or Hampus Lindholm and Coyle, or whatever. Like, explore those. See what you get. Yes, I'm with you.
Because you clear a decent amount of room. You're getting rid of some guys who are older. You have a guy in Low Rye who can replace Lindholm.
Yes.
You hopefully have a guy in Patra.
Replace Coyle. Like,
well, you have a guy in Patra that can be the second line center, and then you have Freddie to be that third line center.
Right.
If Coyle's gone.
Yeah.
So you have guys in there that could fill those roles if you moved on, and then you either get picks back in return or you get players back in return.
I hear you. Yeah.
So, like I said, but I mean, obviously, this is all under the condition that the Bruins fall out of it, and nobody wants.
Montgomery gets fired. They sell.
I mean, whatever happens. Yeah. Bad things happen. They fall out of it. Front office falls to pieces. The coaching staff falls apart. Whatever the case may be. We're not advocating for that, but certainly if things go south, they should absolutely 100% consider doing some of those things to try to get some of the older guys off the roster and turn it over. And the quickest way to do that is at the deadline, getting picks and prospects.
I don't know, what would Freddie and Lysell get you?
Nothing.
Freddie, Lysell, and a pick, probably get nothing. I mean, you don't have a prospect right now at all.
No.
To get anything.
Right around the league is your prospects blow. So
they blow. Yeah. And you know what? They do. Like, right now they do. If Patra and Lowry are up and Beecher is up, now they're NHLers. They're not prospects anymore. So basically your prospects aren't very good.
No.
Right now at all. Yeah, they're not. So right now it's warranted.
Right now it's barren. But I mean, before you had Lowry, you had Patra.
Yeah.
You have some guys in the NCAA that have shown some flashes that, maybe.
But, what do they project to be? They project to be, bottom six guys or third pairing defensemen.
Well, I mean, there's guys there that have flashed that you're like, okay, maybe that guy could be a middle six guy. There's no one. They don't have anybody in the pipeline in their prospect pool that you could say right now is a top six player. No. I mean, a top, not top six, a top line player.
No.
But like, maybe a guy like Jelvik could be a second line guy. Maybe. Maybe. And, you don't know what Letourneau could be. He's a guy that possibly, with his size and whatnot, could end up being a top line guy, I suppose. But it's way, 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 way too early.
From what we've seen so far, like, it takes a long way.
Yeah. So, their prospects, it's kind of barren. So, they need to, if things went badly, turn that over. See if you could get some, picks and prospects to kind of restock.
It's scary because when Marchand and Coyle are done, which is sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do? Like, if you look ahead, it's pretty scary.
I mean, it's very scary.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of, Pastrnak, McAvoy, Swayman, and then you're talking about Lowry, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right. After that, like,
everyone's fair game.
Yeah, but it's like, is there a lot of talent there? I don't know. So
Not really.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
then you're hoping
not Stanley Cup talent.
No, I mean, what you're hoping there is that the cap goes up a lot and you can get guys in free agency, or you go to the bottom of the league and you end up winning the lottery and you get a generational talent.
Yeah, generational talent. Yeah.
I mean, that's what you have to be in the draft in a year where there's a Connor McDavid or a Mario Lemieux or a Sidney
the
Crosby.
big one. Yeah.
You
the
know,
big one.
an Austin Matthews, whatever.
Connor Bedard or Max Celebrini, like a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
mean, that's yeah. I mean, yeah. And it's kind of depressing when you think about a little further down the road. So let's just stay in the moment, shall we? With this year's team, we went off on quite a tangent there.
We did. You know what? I think what we should do is get one of those $600 commemorative sweaters that came out today, and that'll satisfy all of our needs.
Yeah. Well, everybody's beating up fanatics about these things. Adidas was not selling this jersey last year.
No.
So I think people don't really understand it. There's 4 tiers now. Adidas had 3 tiers. There's 4 tiers now with fanatics.
Mm-hmm.
The $600 one is actually like what the players wear.
Yeah, a jersey out of the equipment room.
Yeah. It's like we stole this from the Bruins equipment room.
They wear this jersey when they play.
Exactly. That's the $600 one.
Right.
Then there's like the Premier or whatever, which was the top of the line Adidas one, which is the ones that fans usually buy, and that's like $180. That's like
that's the typical
rate.
Yeah,
that's what it's
going rate.
Yeah, it's what it's always been. And then there's like $100 one, and then like a $55 one that with a Fanatics jersey, it's it's a
tearaway. It's gonna be Hulk Hogan tearing it away. And
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's $600, but it's a damn nice sweater.
It is. All right.
I like some of the little touches. Did you see the little touches?
I like the little touches. I like the socks. I like the little touches. I like the color tones. It pops like hell.
Yeah, I think it'll look nice on the ice. Like seeing it in a random,
that's
on the ice. It's different on the ice. Like I didn't love the Centennial ones at first either, but I saw them on the ice. I'm like, these things are sharp.
Yeah, those are sharp. I love those ones. I really do.
Too. I really wish they would have stuck with those for the.
I know. I would, or at least be the alternate or something. Like just bring them back occasionally. Something, all right. Week ahead, Saturday, October 19th at Utah, and then Tuesday, October 22 at Nashville. We will be Bruins Benders post game live on Saturday night, the 19th, right around midnight. Another late night. Up all night with the Bruins Benders post-game live show. So that'll be after the Utah game. On Saturday night, join us on the Inside the Rink YouTube channel and watch it and comment in the comment section. We'll get your comments on air. We have the in-depth analysis, the fan reaction right after the game, win or lose. And we have some good conversation on there. Every single post-game. So please join us and go get some merchandise at the Bruins Benders store on InsideTheRink.com. Go to shop, go to the Bruins Benders page, and all sorts of really cool merchandise on there. Go ahead and get yourself a mug, a shirt, something or other. Show your fandom. Here's the code on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. And the Bruins 3-2. And they will head to Utah on Saturday night, and we will be with you post-game. Until then, as always, go Bruins.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.